How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? It is I, here to bring you another sloppily and lazily done video. So yay me. Anyway, so the reasoning why I'm doing this all together in the first place is just very plain and simply put, because I figured it's about time that I actually start talking about PSO2, since that's literally the primary reasoning as to why I haven't done jack shit on this channel in over 2 weeks now, is because, just plain and simply put, I've just been face down, ass up in a fucking MMO game, which has been soaking up a shitload of time. It is addicting as all sin. So now I'm here to show you guys exactly why I am face down, ass up in an MMO game, and tell you pretty much what it's all about, what I've been doing, what the fun stuff is, and just go into the actual technicalities of it for people who actually give a damn. So let's go ahead and begin. From the beginning here, a lot of you guys are probably really fucking confused about what the hell is going on, especially if you've never seen anything from PSO2 before, so I suppose we should start from the basics. I'm sure that you guys can tell, anybody who's had any experience playing fucking video games, like literally ever, that obviously I'm punching people. It's an RPG game. It's a very futuristic feeling RPG game, despite the fact that we are very clearly in, like, medieval fucking times with a giant castle in the background that's blowing shit up and whatever. Try not to think about the actual theme of the game, because it's a really big mix match and doesn't really make perfect sense anyway, but it's just part of the allure of the game as it is. It just doesn't make sense. Anyway, let's continue. So this event right here is what is known as a featured quest in the game, which ideally is what you want to do to spam over and 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 over again to be able to level your character up. So that's why I'm here. That's what we're doing here, is it's separated into level brackets based off of the character's skill. And what you're seeing me do right now is just slamming ass in a lower tier version of it. That's why I'm like soloing the entire run, because it's actually designed to be up to 8 people. You can have up to actually more than 2 parties, but typically a party is 2 to 4 people. Usually you want to max out as much as you can, because it increases your XP gain depending on how many people are in your party. So 4-man is the ultimate goal. Anyway, because I don't want to go back and cut it out and then re-record it anyway, I said skill level, but I meant level. It's bracketed into levels, so that you can't have somebody who's too low level jump into a bracket that they're not ready for and just get pounded in the ass. Yeah, my apologies, I haven't really scripted this. I'm kind of just speaking into the microphone in Audacity and then hoping that the script works out. So, moving on. Today in this video, I'm going to be playing as my fighter. This is my second character that I have made, obviously named Tankenstein. It's honestly a misnomer, because I'm not at all a tank. I have skills to be able to draw aggro and hate from everything in the immediate area, but I'm not actually a tank, per se. In that, what I'm trying to say is that I am a glass fucking cannon. You see, the fighter class is more of the physical melee damage dealer class over the hunter, which is more balanced and a lot more defensive than the hunter class. Everything in the game is a DPS, mind you, but this specifically is an offensive class, as you can see from my stats, with my very high striking attack, because I am quite geared with my gauntlets at this time. This character is a Dooman race, which means that she is a horned character with heterochromia, so different colored eyes. Now, mind you, remember that every single race in the game does have stat differences depending on who you pick. Dooman are more attack-centric while sacrificing their defenses. It's not going to destroy your character in the long run, but it is notable to dedicate towards a particular stat. Now, as far as actual skills go with the fighter, you're only really known for Limit Break, Brave Stance, and Wise Stance. Now, the 2 stances are basically modifiers to damage and your critical hit rate based off of whether or not that you are in front of the enemy or attacking from behind. So it is all about positioning in that way, whether or not that you're actually tanking and taking them head on or from behind. Giggity giggity. And then there's Limit Break, a skill that reduces your fucking max HP to 25% of the original value and then gives you a substantial attack buff. This stacks on top of other passives that you have that increase your attack power when you are at certain health thresholds, so you are essentially a Dark Knight, in that you have a lot of HP-based attack power. The other cool thing about Phantasy Star Online is that you have subclasses, which you guys undoubtedly noticed with Hunter. Hunter, the reasoning why most people, especially melee characters in general, usually have Hunter as a subclass is because it makes you a lot more versatile and tanky. They have 2 stances of their own as well that basically work as passives that you can flip-flop in between, which is Fury Stance, and then you also have Guard Stance. Obviously, I think you can tell the difference between the 2. Beyond this, there really isn't anything more to go into when it comes to skills. The next part's just going to be all about the Photon Arts before we go into things. And that's why I like this game as well. It's very reminiscent of Final Fantasy XI in that there are a number of skills that you can use that are weapon-based, called Photon Arts. They're essentially weapon skills from Final Fantasy XI, but you don't have to build TP to them, they just are worth points, PP. Otherwise, your MP bar. Now, from the beginning, you guys will notice in my stream of normal attacks that I am doing, this is simply left-clicking, there is a red circle that pops up around my character. This is the just attack timer. If you use a Photon Art or a normal attack when the ring closes in at the right time, similar to Lost Odyssey, then you will enhance the damage dealt. This is actually a lot more important than you would think for something that's just basic knowledge of the game, so these are going to be referred to as just attacks from here on in so that you guys had a foundation of it. You can also perform a step, which gives you invulnerability frames. It's basically a dodge and then move straight into a just attack as well. However, as fighter using Knuckles, it is ideally smarter for me to just continually use Sway to be able to dodge out of attacks. This is a unique weapon action with Knuckles that gives you iframes and not break combos. The Photon Arts that I use in order here are Ducking Blow, Surprise Knuckle, Flash 1000, and Backhand Smash. I also use Heartless Impact as another Photon Art for closing gaps and just as a general movement skill. We'll talk about the skills themselves in detail during actual play. However, what I want to talk about now is probably the most important feature about the fighter altogether, which is comboing. Now, comboing is obviously just a generic skill that you develop in any fighting game, but it's especially important as a fighter in PSO2 because you have passive skills that increase the damage output with non-consecutive Photon Arts, meaning so long as you don't use the same Photon Art over and over again back to back, it'll increase the damage output. This stacks at a maximum of 10% increased damage and increases at 5% every Photon Art that you use. Notice as well at the bottom of the screen that my gear is increasing with every sequential hit. Now, the important takeaway of the comboing is that usually how I play this class is I have 3 Photon Arts that I will use, and then the closer is usually a backhand smash because it has the highest raw damage in one singular hit. This means that essentially I can just set up 3 Photon Art combos and then build up my PP and then do it all over again and then get out. So you'll be seeing me do an awful lot of 3-hit combos with Photon Arts before doing basic attacks or something to build my PP up. Hot damn, 7 minutes it's been, and we haven't even actually gotten to me running the fucking mission, so hopefully I've already done the transition by now. Let's move on with it, shall we? Now, again, like I said at the very beginning of this, especially if you guys have never seen this game before, it's really hard to keep track of what the fuck is going on screen, but just know that there's a lot of basic attacks going on right now, because I know that I can just slay enemies in 2 to 3 hits, if even, with my basic attacks, just because I have that much damage and outscale them right now. The only real thing of importance here is that whenever that you see that comet trail, that is me doing Heartless Impact to be able to close the gap quickly with my enemies. I also tend to spam the X button a lot while I'm attacking, which causes me to dodge and bob and weave, and I do steps. So that's what that flash is every single time after I throw a punch when I'm fucking just quickly moving somewhere. It's just me doing a dodge step off to the left or right or something. It's really more of a nervous condition than anything that actually really helps me considerably. It more often than not just makes me not hit people because I keep doing it sporadically. While this is going on, however, I can go ahead and actually explain the details of the combos and where all of my damage comes from. So, obviously I had mentioned comboing, and I mentioned gear, that little fucking bar down at the bottom of the screen again. So, I believe it's 2 attacks in rapid succession with the, I think they need to be just timed. If not, then they just need to be one after each other. And then you can also do steps into the attack. So that is one benefit, actually, of me just running around and spamming the X key all the time, is that it keeps my gear maximized, which increases my damage considerably. Then we're also talking about the front or the back extra damage that we're doing positionally based off of whether or not that I have Brave or Wise stance on. I also have an assload of critical hit rate increase due to passives that I have on Fighter, as well as the Fury stance that I have on right now because I'm not in the protective stance. And then finally, like I said, I also have the increase in damage from combos by using 2 different PAs back to back with just timing. You also have a just attack bonus based off of the Hunter skill tree, so it actually also helps out my damage by a considerable margin as well. But, yes, I know it took about fucking 10 minutes for me to explain all of that shit, and I have timestamps for whatever that people want to skip later on down the line. We're gonna go to the actual me running this in my level bracket in a minute here, but hopefully you guys understand what's going on and why I'm doing the things that I do. We're going to show things in real time now so that you can actually see the shit. And you have all the reference material right before this, so let's actually see me in a combat fucking scenario doing this. Thank you all for tabbing in here and just watching me go on a fucking tirade about this, if you had gone through all of that, rather than just skipping right to the combat. And, yeah, I'm gonna work on lobotomy later. I swear to God I will. It's just, I already recorded this, and this was one night where I was having a lot of fucking connection difficulties, and I had figured it out, and I was like, I'm gonna record myself beat some ass. And little did I know, it actually came out a really good quality recording. So, yeah, anyway, here you go, guys. Me beating ass. Ugh, you know the problem with going into things unscripted? Is you do what I did with this video, and then you completely skip over something that you said that you would reference later on, so we're going to go ahead and insert it here. I had never talked about the actual PAs that I use with Knuckles, so here you go, guys. Ducking blow is this skill right here. It gives you a very sizable iframe window before you punch the enemy with a pretty strong uppercut. It's a really weak attack versus the other ones in my arsenal, however it is a nice defensive to throw in the middle of a combo, and it's also very cheap. Next up we have Surprise Knuckle. I just like the way that this one looks. It's not overly powerful versus other ones, but it's pretty quick to pull off versus Flash 1000, and it doesn't lock you in any animations or anything of the sort. It's just not a very lengthy skill to use, so it looks really nice and flashy. Speaking of flashy, Flash 1000. This is, I believe, the most damaging skill that I have, but it also locks you in place. You would have to be able to duck to get out of this skill, and then move on to something else. You cannot sidestep out of it, is what I'm trying to say. But it is very powerful, and usually something that I use for when an enemy is staggered and open. And then finally we have the Backhand Smash. This one is just really flashy to throw at the end of a combo, as it is anyway. Just your very traditional, I'm gonna fuck you up attack that fucking any hand-to-hand user has ever used, ever. This is just very powerful and strong, especially when it crits. Anyway, here we go. We're going into the video now, guys. I already told you about Heartless Impact. You've seen me use it. It's when I go dashing across the screen. So, here's the actual fucking fight scene. Holy shit. Forgot how fucking short that run actually was. Thought I had more gameplay than that. Oh well. Let me know if you guys would like to see my other two characters that I've been using and my other classes that I've been working on and stuff in PSO2 for ideas for later videos down the line. And assuming that you've gone all the way this far through the video, all the way through the end, and maintained your attention span the whole fucking time, number one, have a cookie. You deserve it. Because this did not turn out the way that I had intended on making this video. And secondly, thank you for joining me. I will see you guys later on down the line. Take it easy.